Welcome to the Braver Leaders podcast, the space where bold conversations meet real leadership. I'm Sam Harvey, founder of Braver Leaders, and I spend my days helping leaders and teams cut through the noise and focus on what actually matters: behavior change. On this podcast, I bring you unfiltered conversations with experts who are driving real change, executives, entrepreneurs, professors, coaches, and culture shakers. We dive into the human side of leadership, the stuff that truly makes a difference. High-performance teams, culture shifts, tough conversations, vulnerability, and impact. We're getting stuck in. If that's your thing, hit subscribe, share this with a fellow leader, and check out braverleaders.com for our free resources, because leadership is not a solo sport. Let's do this. All right, welcome back, team. Today I am joined by my very, very good friend, someone who I consider a personal mentor of mine that I've known for many years. We've done a lot of work together. Mrs. Louise Marra, Miss. I don't know why I started with that, but I did. Ms. Yes, sorry. Louise has worked all around the world in leadership development. She's worked for prime ministers. She's big in systemic change. And when I said as a mentor of mine is really the person that I look to, and we actually had this conversation, didn't we, Louise, where I said, I want to do what you do. And really was a person that I looked to for direction in terms of how do I get to the world I'm in now in systemic and behavior change. Now works with a collective change lab out of the States, has a fantastic project in Aotearoa, New Zealand called the Pakeha Project, and works a lot with big global systems and helping them enact change. Welcome, my friend.
Beautiful to see you, Sam. And yeah, I'm glad that you knew it was your path and followed it. And it's so cool to see how well you're doing. So I really love it and love being here with you.
Yeah, likewise. I always feel our conversations are like a salve for me. I always walk out of them feeling better than when I started. So I'm looking forward to this one as well.
Yeah, me too.
So today we're covering off, we're going to dive into something which you're working a lot in the moment in trauma-informed leadership. And I think am I right in saying it's a relatively new topic, or am I not right in saying that?
I think it's relatively new. I mean, I have run a couple of been part of a couple of global trauma-informed leadership courses, and it is gaining a lot of momentum. But no, really only in the last maybe 4 or 5 years. So it's still relatively new, I feel. And what's new is people actually taking this approach. People are talking about it, but not necessarily implementing it yet.
Yeah, okay, right. So it's gathering this traction. People are interested, but there's probably a lack of understanding of maybe what to do, or perhaps we should start even with what it is.
Yeah, that's right. What to do and what is it? So, over the last kind of 20 years, there's just been an incredible revolution in psychology, I think. I mean, some of it kind of started with a lot of the brain-based leadership, but actually then there's been such a lot of research and material and leaps around understanding the body, the human physiology, and the nervous system. And I think that that's slowly now finding its way into leadership. And so trauma-informed leadership is really nervous system-based leadership. You understand how the human physiology works and what keeps it from its optimal state. And I have a saying that, trauma needs to be healed, not followed. But in a lot of organizations, actually, trauma's leading, and trauma should never lead. So this work is really nervous system orientated, embodiment orientated, and really helping people to find that optimal place, but also how to work with the trauma places, the trauma strategies, the trauma responses that people have in a healthy way, not a shaming, prescribing, we want these behaviors, not those. It's quite radically different, I think, and beautiful and very powerful.
Gotcha. Okay. And so when we're talking in, I guess, in people and in organizations, because organizations are made up of people, it sounds like trauma-led would be led by patterns which are not being kind of examined and looking for exits from. Is that right?
Yeah. So if you imagine like a senior leadership team, like work with a lot of senior leadership teams. So you might see territorialism, a lot of competition, a lot of patch protection, a lot of churn, a lot of numbness, a lot of not necessarily a deep relational fabric. And so all of these things can be so present in a senior leadership team, which actually blocks the flow of life, the flow of creativity, the flow of energy. And also for senior leadership teams, in some ways they transmit, they have a collective nervous system, and they transmit that throughout the organization. So yeah, it's got some beautiful things to offer as a different way of being in leadership.
Got it. Okay. And so really when people are, because we've got a collective of people that are coming together, bringing all of their unresolved stuff, then they're creating a collective unresolved stuff, which is radiating through the organization. Is that right?
Exactly. And teams either are kind of fragmented, like quite fragmented, or there's a coherence. And I think what you said is exactly true. We all bring that. And this isn't trying to say don't bring it. Like I remember organizations, very global, well-known, which I won't name, that were like, we don't want any of that to come to work. But of course, it's not real.
It's impossible, right?
Not real. It's impossible. So it's like trauma-informed leadership and workplaces know how to work with it coming to work. They don't say don't bring it to work. They don't pretend it doesn't come to work. They know how to work with it as it comes to work. And I mean, I can go into some of the hows if you like too, but yeah, that's a key thing. Okay, we've gone into a more sympathetic, trauma-orientated space. How do we come out of it?
Yes.
How do we provide enough resources and be nervous systems for each other for actually letting this move through? How do we come out of our numbness, our stuckness, but even being able to recognize when they're stuck, when there's churn, rather than judge it, go, wow, we're all frozen. There's a degree of frozenness here. Let's work with that in a way that can unfreeze, not a way that shames and freezes more.
Yeah, that's super interesting, isn't it? Because it's essentially objectifying something which is very difficult if you've done no work on it to objectify, isn't it? Like just being able to go, actually, this is happening. It doesn't mean anything about me per se. It's my responsibility to work on it. But, okay, that's a response that I have because of something that's gone on in my past. I know how to exit that. Right. Or, hey, how do I pause and look at that from a perspective of, oh, okay, that's happening. I can do something about that. Yeah.
And that's part of it. And another really deeper part, like I run a program called Deep Performing Teams instead of High Performing Teams. Everyone's up, everyone's down, grounded.
Yeah.
But a more profound thing is that we all agree in the team, that we're going to grow each other. So then I can be a corrective experience for the passions that arise in you, not that you just have to sort them on your own. So a core part of trauma informed is that you work with tension as growth.
Yes, love that.
Tension is growth and creativity. And when we hit tension, something's trying to grow in me and you and both and the team. And we commit to that growth.
Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more on that.
Yeah. And I have little tools that are profound that to be in a senior leadership team, I feel everyone, all the ones I work with, you have to commit to clearing the entanglements between members of the team. So it's not like the team has to resolve every problem, because the problem might be with me and you.
Got
and
it.
that's something trying to heal in you and something trying to heal in me. But we've committed that we're going to clear this and work out what's trying to grow in both of us together.
Right. So there's a big part of this which is set up, isn't it? Because and that kind of those agreements between people of, hey, we're going to do this because, I mean, we do a lot of work as well in holding tension and holding conflict and changing the language around conflict from being, conflict is a bad thing to a conflict is an absolute necessity of performance, right? Because if I can't say to you, hey, something's going on for me right now and I need to bring that up, then actually that there's an idea or a possibility of performance which kind of dies then, doesn't it? Like in that moment, it's like it's gone. Whereas in reality, if somebody's got the opportunity to speak it up and hold that space and go, I'm safe enough to say this, then there's an opportunity for the team to grow, or those individuals between them to grow a little bit.
Totally. And then things don't get stuck. Otherwise, you end up with senior teams where everyone's kind of being often nice, like we're nice.
Yes.
Because we've learned respect. But actually, I can't even really look you in the eye or face you. I can't really cooperate. I'll look like I am, but actually I'll do a whole lot with my team to not support you.
Yes.
There's so much of this that goes on in unconscious ways. And that's why we end up with silos and people not, so it is a deeper approach around this being, I think it was Keegan who said deliberately developmental.
Yes.
Because humans are meant to grow each other. We're meant to have tensions. We're meant to annoy each other. We're meant to, because that's the growth serum of life. If we have the trust and the safety, like you said, to be able to actually work it through, and then we become a corrective experience for each other. And then, of course, it just frees up all the energy for the magic, the creativity, the innovation, because I'm not spending my time obsessing or, trying to navigate a trauma field that most teams are. I know that.
And I think it is most teams as well, isn't it? It's most people are kind of dealing with this. And there's one of my lecturers, actually, Paolo Quattrone, we talked a lot about the tension. This is a really interesting example to me anyway, the tension between in the church, the dean and the purser. So when they have these meetings, they sit them opposite one another. So it's the representative of God opposite the representative of money. And so they both have a key to the vault in which the money can be released, but only if both of them open it can it be opened. Right. So they must stay in tension until that is resolved. And it takes them sometimes a long, long time to resolve things. Like he made a joke that it took them 5 years to buy a coffee machine or something like that. But the point is the staying in that, like tension as creativity and staying there, tension as play almost, and going, actually, this is all right. This is a place where it's okay. I've got a different view or I've got a different experience, and I'm going to work through that with you until we get to a place where we go, yeah, this is amazing, and we're flying, right?
Yeah. The other thing about the trauma-informed work is that you in some ways are building what's technically called the ventral vagal. So the ventral vagal in our physiology is the prime place of I'm alive and I'm open for connection. So I'm not sleeping, I'm alive, I'm grounded, but I'm very connected. It's almost an interbeing place. So this place needs rewiring into teams and organizations and individuals so that they have the resources, so that I come to work with as my resourced self. And I often talk about it as being resourced. And without access to this place in our physiology, we're actually always either in the sympathetic charge, and this kind of fast, frantic pace can be, I'm fully in adrenaline, cortisol, sympathetic charge, or I'm freezing because it's too overwhelming.
Yes.
So the other part is, and this is beautiful, hey, is that individuals, senior leadership team members get resourced, and the team knows how to resource itself and come back to that place when they're hitting the other places. They know how to bring it in, like they know how to bring it in. And I think this is humanity's work. There's only one place in humans that can change the world. The other places won't change anything. They'll keep repeating patterns of our hearts. There's only one place in our whole physiology, this ventral system, that actually can change anything, and that really can fully cooperate.
Okay, interesting. So I don't know much about this, and I'm intrigued. So what is it? Where is it? And how do we do something to calm that down?
Yeah. Or access it.
Yeah.
It's really a natural place, but a lot of people don't know how to find it in themselves. Hey, I often just call it the essential self. I mean, I work a lot with the nervous system, but also with internal family systems, which is parts work. They just call it the true self or the self. And that's a big thing in trauma-informed organizations, healing-orientated, is that they understand when they're in that essential place and when trauma's leading. So I often trauma leads a strategy.
Yeah.
Panic, oh my God,
Yeah, definitely, right? Like, oh, hey, do you remember when the pandemic happened? Oh, we better make sure that we're protected for that, right? Or like some kind of, I mean, that's just one example, right? But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, fear. When fear and survival energy lead in any way, that's trauma leading.
Yeah.
And we're allowed to be afraid. Like we have fear as humans, and we're allowed to be afraid. That's super important. But we don't follow that. We follow this more essential place, and we connect from the more essential place. So there's heaps of practices I get people into to rewire this place into them, because it is a place that needs connectivity. So it can be with nature, music, breath, other people, but we need to find this place in us that isn't traumatized and lead from that. And it's a beautiful journey, but it takes some, it's a humble journey for us to all realize how much we get stuck in the other zones, the sympathetic, the fight, flight, survival, fear, or the I'm just overwhelmed. And people don't realize that the freeze function is really, you can have full freeze, but mostly a functional freeze is basically I can't feel my body. So I'm only thinking, I'm not feeling, I'm not sensing. And good leaders know how to feel and sense a room. They know how to, and that's the nervous system too. If it's settled and alive, it can really sense what needs to happen next. It releases so much magic. It can feel another person. It can feel what needs to happen. It can feel what's in the room.
Yeah, I relate. I think probably because I do this work, and so I have to do that. And so when I go into a room, that switches on in me, which I love. And I think, if we're too focused on, oh, here's the agenda, we've got to get through that. Actually, you dampen that a bit, don't you? And I think that's probably what most people, leaders go into situations saying, I've got to get to this rather than saying, this is what we're here to discuss, and then seeing what eventuates and kind of letting things come out and then going, oh, I felt something shift over there, or the temperature's changed. I can feel some awkwardness. It's one of my favorite things to say in a team coaching session is, I feel some awkwardness now. What needs to be said? And if you just stay silent, it will come out, won't it? And
then it doesn't go back into the freezer. Yeah, and I was with a senior leadership team yesterday doing this work, and this chief exec was saying, yeah, but sometimes there's 10 minutes left in a meeting and we've actually just got to get this done. And I'm like, well, what would be great is to go, wow, we've got 10 minutes left. This is really urgent. Let's all just take some breaths. Let's all just connect. Let's just take a pause so that our system can go into that urgency because the sympathetic's very contracted, so we don't have all our blood flow, our brain flow. So we can go into it. And productivity, like the most productive states are flow states, and most organizations don't get into them. But that 10 minutes, actually, if people are more relaxed and alive, will go way better than if they're stressed and tense by the CE pushing through. So I was like, no, you're going to practice not pushing through. You're going to practice saying, yep, this is urgent, let's slow down.
Yeah, 100%. Because if you push somebody over the tipping point on the stress curve into distress, then they are going to fear that they don't have the resources, go into anxiety and panic, rather than calming them down and putting them into a flow state.
That's right. And they won't have their intelligence, and they'll probably freeze, go into overwhelm, just look like I'm in a functional freeze, basically. So I'm not fully here. And that has an impact on the we would say in our country, the wairua of the team, but that has a real impact on the flow of intelligence through that team.
What's wairua?
Wairua is like the flow of spirit.
Flow of life, right?
The flow of life,
Yeah. Okay, cool. Okay, nice one. And I liked what we were talking before we started, and we were sort of, talking about trauma-informed leadership. Actually, it's healing-oriented leadership, that were your words. So I'd love to sort of dive into that and maybe look at so how do you be a healing-oriented leader? Because this is, you and I you in particular spend all of your life thinking about this, or a lot of your life thinking about this. I do, not all of it, but I spend a lot of time thinking about this sort of stuff as well. When the people we're interacting with are going, yeah, but how? Like, how do I do this? What's your kind of advice there?
So the first thing you said, I'll just go to that first. I think it's a journey for organizations. First is becoming kind of trauma informed, nervous system orientated, and that takes learning. It doesn't necessarily take a lot, but it takes some. And then kind of like what you were saying about wow, I knew this was my path. And we need really brave organizations, I love that's what you're called, who are encouraged to go, wow, we're going to become a healing orientated organization. And that's where all the practices and the ways of being are starting to be really implemented. So the trauma informed to me is the first stage, but to become a healing orientated organization is, I think, super important in this time and super beautiful, because it acknowledges what you said. Everyone comes to work with their trauma. Let's be each other's corrective experience. Let's not re-traumatize each other. Let's find a healthier way that isn't shaming, blaming, prescribing. I'm just not into prescribing behaviors, or, because so much has been put into the passive aggressive. I will look like I'm doing those behaviors, but actually my energy is not doing that at all. It just goes to ground. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But the how was your second part of your question. Hey, was that right? How do people?
Correct. Yeah. I stacked questions there. Sorry.
That's okay. Um, well, how some of the things I get teams and organizations to do, and this, I try and make this fun and light. Like, to me, people often say, why have you made your life about trauma? And it's because it's freeing, it's liberating, it liberates life energy. So some of the things I get people to do, like I have a simple little tool called 6x1, which is, 6 times a day for 1 minute, can you do something that brings you ease and joy? Do you know how hard that is for people? It's so hard. And then also for teams to start to do this. So I worked with some Africans, and they turned this into 1 minute dance parties for their whole organization.
That is amazing.
6 times a day they would dance. That did so much for them all.
That's amazing. Yeah.
To be able to bring some life back. Like this can, to be able to ease their bodies, move their bodies. Like we need to rewire this optimal place. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's the building of this ventral system. There's the real building of the connectivity. I mean, there's things about how you run a meeting if you're being trauma informed or healing orientated. Like you say, there's some settling in the beginning. Encourage people to bring resources into the room. So they digest the last meeting for 1 minute.
Yes.
Resource for this meeting. And then there's a whole lot that I do around when trauma arrives. So one is, let's wire in the good stuff, the medicine, and the other is, okay, we know when we can start to understand when we're in the sympathetic, the fight, flight, survival, fear, and we know what to do. So I often give teams who are starting, I call it the courageous conversation protocol. Okay, we've hit tension, let's enact protocol that leads them through how we might do that, rather than bypass it, and you may need to set up another time to do that, or you may be able to do it. None of these things need to take forever.
Got it. And so it may be hey, we actually need to pause and step back and take a break and just kind of get out of our sympathetic nervous system and come back to a place where we can actually engage on a different level. Is that right?
That's one option, which is totally a good option. And the other option is, let's work with this, like you were saying before, let's work with this tension as growth. And here's the protocol of how we're going to do that.
Got it, yeah.
Okay, so there's different options, but at least we know what to do when we hit tension or survival energy or fear or contraction. Everyone's contracted. And then we can make these choices. Yeah, it's not really a big thing. Let's all return back to our optimal place, or actually this needs some more work. But really helping people to see, it's a very humbling journey, I think. And you and I before were talking about how we have to keep doing our own work. I think the level
I'm deep in patterns at the moment with my therapist.
Right.
Like deep. So,
I think it's very humbling for us as humans all to admit how disembodied we are. And this embodiment where all our heart, gut, head centers are all operating, my words and my energy say the same thing. This territory that I think is where leadership's got to go.
I relate, and I think the amusing part of this conversation, I'll be vulnerable here, is that like I got on this call with you and you said, how are you? And I said, yeah, I'm good, I'm grateful for the work we're doing, but I'm overwhelmed. Right. And I think the thing that I love about the work we do is, and also is a problem, is it's purposeful, right? And there's a peril in a calling. There's a really good article actually called The Perils of a Calling, where you're like, okay, this is a calling. I have to like be careful on be careful to not take it so seriously that I'm damaging myself. I still have to take it easy on myself and be able to flip out of that. And I'm definitely out of my body a lot at the moment because of the amount of time I'm spending up in my head. And I mean, I take care of myself. I exercise regularly. I eat well. I hydrate, all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, like still, like I notice the effect that being in distress as opposed to eustress and flow all of the time is having on me. And
it's
so, yeah, I think
it's super good that you can say that, because I think one of the things I also love about this work is it directly works with overwhelm all the time, because we've all got it because the world's overwhelming.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So we 100%. Swim in a collective soup of overwhelm.
Yeah, it's true.
And so some of that will be yours in your past, and some of my overwhelms mine in my past, but a lot is we're swimming in the soup of overwhelm. So one of the things we work with directly is the overwhelm. How to kind of work with that in a healthy way, because it does lead to disembodiment. But again, if there are teams and groups who learn to co-regulate that overwhelm, then also individual nervous systems don't have to do it alone, which in some ways you never will.
I just triggered something in my mind about codependency and how that's actually, no matter what, it's a thing, and how we regulate each other. So if my heart rate is high, there's a chance yours will be high, but if you can keep yours low, you will bring mine down. Exactly. I love that about the human body, right? I mean, there's so many examples of that in groups of people that spend time together, isn't there? And there's really good research around it. So I think it's interesting, isn't it, about this? Because I think I said it around, okay, I work my stuff out and you work your stuff out. It's like, no, I help you. So there's a collective kind of spirit of, no, I can help you heal, right? And being in relation with somebody, staying in relation, to use one of your lovely phrases, is an incredible way to help people around you heal and heal yourself, right?
It's co-regulation sounds a cold word, but to me it is the most beautiful human thing. It's exactly what you said. Sometimes when you can't find that ventral vagal, that settled alive place, if I can find it in me, you're way more likely to find it in you. And again, in a team, hey, if one person can return to this place and invite others to return, it's way easier for people to return. Otherwise, we join and then we're all, it just creates fragmentation and distress.
Yeah.
So, just really helping people host their own stress without joining it is another big thing. How do I host my stress without joining the stress? So I think we're just in, such a good place to move into another way of doing leadership. And again, I'll say something kind of outrageous, but when I talk to the leadership development people, I'm like, we have got to take some responsibility for the state of the world, because we led all the leadership development shit, fueled it. It's like the leadership development profession sees itself as too benign or something. Do you know what I mean?
I think it sees itself, and I had an example of this yesterday, actually, where we got some really great feedback on a program we've just run. One of the CEOs said, look, you told us up like any other leadership development agency would, but what you gave us was connection. Which no other company has ever given us, right? They came out of it going, oh, we care about each other. We can be vulnerable with each other. We can be empathetic towards each other. And you see them, they're just like now almost like a little in-group, which we'll have to deal with. But like of, this kind of core of like, of passion and empathy toward one another, and like real collegiate feeling. And that's the thing, is that I think that the leadership development world is all about tools and what can I teach you? What's the trick I can give you? And I mean, even I've done it here, right? And we need to constantly self-assess, because we are the ones that are bringing our trauma into these places too, and joining a system temporarily, right? And like, I've been asking you, how do we do it though, Louise? How do we do it? How? It's like, be the tools.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And
I
we
think
need
that's my
tools.
opinion.
Yeah, we
Yes,
do
of
need
course.
tools. And more, we need to know how to connect. Hey, and we need to know how to come back to our optimal place. Hey, and help others do that. And we need to know what to do with trauma when it arises. And I think, even like pre-COVID, people would say to me, could you stop using the trauma word? It's annoying. We don't like it. Actually, now people don't say that. But I think we need to name it when it arises. It's not that someone's just being, dysfunctional on purpose. They're lost in a trauma vortex. And to me, that opens my heart when I go, they're lost in that state. And I know what to do to be helpful, rather than just join them and fight.
Yeah, I agree with you. Okay, amazing. I think I have one more question for you, and this has been occurring to me as you've been talking about the ventral vagal. It sounds like, and I've heard this word a bit recently, the glimmers. Have you heard that?
The glimmers, yeah.
Yeah. Is it something along those lines? Because when I find myself having those, I find myself in a really regulated state of just like, this is cool. And then I can access something deeper in terms of going, right, this is what I need to do.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah, totally. So, even now, and as people are listening, hey, you can orientate to the problem of you, or the problem also of the team. But we can also orientate to some beauty and resources, we call them, that's always here. And those are kind of the glimmers. What's actually here that's really resourcing you to be in and calling you back. Because the mind loves to create a problem, so it's got something to do, but we don't want to spend our life creating problems and orientating always to the problem. So this work is also about orientation. I can orientate to a glimmer or a connection that brings me back into my body and my settled place, that now I can connect. Whereas maybe 5 minutes ago, I actually couldn't. And that's really important too. You can't force connection, but you can resource people. And glimmers are sort of part of that. They're like, the more holistic self trying to say, I'm here too. So growing this kind of this selfhood that isn't run by trauma is a very powerful thing.
Yeah,
and again,
amazing.
It's the only thing that will really truly change the world, and not just keep creating the same patterns and call it something else.
Yeah. Okay, amazing. Thank you, my friend. Where can people find you?
Where can people find me? Many places, actually, but Unity House is my company, www.unityhouse.nz. But I work for the Collective Change Lab. We've actually got a trauma-informed leadership and systems change course starting next week. I can send you a link if you want, but it's the collectivechange.org.
Yep.
Those are some of the best ways. And there's my book Reroute that helps people connect to nature, which is one of the prime resources. So that's there too.
You have a course with that as well, don't you?
Yeah, and it's pretty much all free now, donation based, because I just want people to, I just want this wide into the world. But love to create something with you, Sam.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's talk about it. So, look, thank you again for. What's that?
Oh, if there's enough interest from the podcast,
For sure.
Great. So if you are interested, let us know. because having
Yes.
some understanding is super helpful, and that doesn't have to be a long process.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I mean, I have enough conversations now with people to garner the interest, right? And so we'll gather whether or not people are actually interested. And I think this is something which I did a podcast recently on attachment styles, and I got so much interest just because people are interested in that as well, right? And so
Yeah,
I think now people are willing to be open to ideas about how they can lead differently from a place, you know, from this interesting place of base in psychology. Right. So yeah, I think it's a really good shout. So let's chat further on it. And I just want to say thank you again for sharing your wisdom with us and holding space and being you.
Beautiful to be here with you, and thank you, Sam, and glad you're being you.
Oh, nice one. Thank you very much.
Thanks for tuning in today's episode of the Braver Leaders podcast. If this conversation sparks something in you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with a fellow leader who needs to hear it. If you haven't yet, hit subscribe so you never miss an episode, and check out our free resources as well on braverleaders.com, because great leadership starts with action. We'll see you next time.